First up tonight is British writer and broadcaster Esther Krakue. Hi Esther, welcome to the Royal Report.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Our absolute pleasure. Now look, we know big plans are in train for the three-day coronation celebration. We understand the Sussexes have been invited, but it hasn't been confirmed whether they'll attend. And it also appears that Harry, as the Duke of Sussex, has been written out of part of the formal coronation proceedings. Is that the case, and can you run us through that?
So, thank you. So nothing has been confirmed at the moment as to whether he's been written out. I think that is highly likely, even if he does attend again, which is also highly unlikely. He will definitely play a very minor role. It's really interesting, the reports we've been hearing about, writing him out of the sort of the royal saga entirely. Historians have established that back in the day when the line of succession was secured, so the heir and then the children of the heir were secured, usually the brother, also the spare technically of the heir, was effectively written out of kind of royal duties under the royal family. They lost their titles and all of that, and that was a formality. And they're discussing that now, not just given Prince Harry's treacherous book, but just clearly their unhappiness with being in the royal family and with the institution in general. So that is actually an interesting discussion that's happening in parallel. But with regards to them attending the coronation, one, it would be very awkward because it's around Archie's birthday. It's highly unlikely they will even attend, but if they do, the media furore around it will probably overshadow the actual coronation ceremony, which would be another unfortunate sort of side effect of them coming.
Yeah, that absolutely would be. But we also understand there are reports that the King Charles is lobbying the Archbishop of Canterbury to broker some sort of deal to include Prince Harry in the Westminster Abbey ceremony. Now, look, this is all turning out to be more perilous than organising the seating plan at an Italian wedding, Esther. So how does the family deal with this? What is evidently a trust deficit? How do they ensure that everyone is included in the celebration now, but without creating ammunition for some public spat later?
I mean, well, it's clear that the royal family strategy is to take the high road in every way, shape and form. So even, asking the Archbishop of Canterbury to try and include the Sussexes into the coronation ceremony is another way of the royal family showing they're really kind of extending an olive branch, regardless of all the mudslinging that's been done by the Sussexes, primarily Harry as well. To us, it looks weird. Why would you want to invite and include your son that has done everything to tarnish the reputation of you yourself personally and the royal family at large? But the strategy is quite clear. They're taking the high road as they should. And, in doing this, their popularity with the public, particularly the British public, keeps rising whilst the Sussexes keeps dropping, which is not surprising in any way.
Now, let's get on to that. Look, it's been 3 torturous weeks since Prince Harry's memoir Spare was released, and I'm sure you're really quite over talking about it. But in the aftermath, it appears that the Sussexes have taken a knock in the popularity stakes. What are the polls saying about the royals, and do you think that things could have been different if they'd had better advice and maybe strategy around the book?
So, at the moment, the Sussexes are the second and third least popular members of the royal family. I think no one can top Prince Andrew, understandably, but Harry and Meghan are quite easily, aside from Prince Andrew, the most unpopular members of the royal family. I do think that they could have avoided this entirely by just being a lot more clever about how they went about things. I don't think writing a tell-all book that is so grotesque in all of its sort of revelations that for some reason the public now knows that Prince Harry and Prince William are circumcised is any good way to go about things. But it's just, the finer details sort of insinuating that the royal family are racist because someone showed concern about how dark Archie's skin colour would be without actually naming the person, and then allowing rumours to proliferate for over 2 years, speculating and tarnishing the royal family as just an institution of racists. Again, that doesn't go well with the British public, knowing that the British public wouldn't tolerate a racist royal family, for instance. But there are so many things, the constant complaining and the whinging, it's very out of touch. And, even parts of the book that detailed his kill count in Afghanistan, for instance, that's clearly just someone not being advised well how to sort of deal with any sort of media in any way, shape, or form, or the repercussions of exposing such details. So I don't think it's just a matter of kind of better advice with the minute details. I think the overall strategy was very, very off.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem that it's really turned out quite the way that they envisaged that it would. But can we just stay with Meghan for a second? Because now her sister Samantha has given this explosive interview on Tucker Carlson's show this week, basically outing the princess for allegedly lying about her own family to the royals, resulting in them not being invited to the wedding. Take a look at this.
I mean, she seems like she's really caused a lot of problems in her husband's family. Clearly, she's gone after your family. Is that something you saw in her before?
No, we were kind of puzzled when both sides of the family were kept away from the royal wedding, and we started wondering, what's up with this? Like, why? We found out that there were a lot of porky pies probably told to the royals and even to Harry when they met her. So it makes sense. Oh my God, I've got to keep everybody away, because if they start talking, the lies come out.
Now, Esther, all families are complicated, but this seems like an extraordinary length to go to, or am I missing something here?
Well, I have said, in fairness to Meghan, because I do think it's important to be fair, her family have, particularly her father's side of the family and her half-sister, have not been very gracious when it comes to dealing with her. Her father and her sister Samantha have sold stories to the tabloids. And I just think if you feel like you have been wronged by Meghan, again, selling stories about your sister is not the way to go about it. So I understand kind of her reluctance to, I suppose, get close to that side of the family. However, I do think that if you're going to say that Meghan has lied about, part of her extended family to keep them away from obviously the royal wedding and aspect of royal life, you should probably be more specific. And I think this is a fair criticism that I have of the Sussexes as well as, of Meghan's family. If you're going to label someone a racist or someone has said something racist, point the finger at the person so they can take responsibility or at least defend themselves. And I think it's the same thing with Samantha Markle here. That being said, I'm not entirely surprised, but again, I can't pass any judgment unless she's given actual specific details. But it wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility that there have been sort of not very consistent details around her family that she's given to the royal family. But that's not to say whether that's true or not. But it's not outside the realm of possibility that recollections may vary when it comes to the Sussexes.
I think you make a really good point there, though, where you talk about these broad brush allegations. If you're going to say something was wrong or not done right, be really specific about it and just deal with it. Because the way, and particularly those racism allegations, were just allowed to hang there for 2 years and not really be dealt with in any way, I think ultimately is damaging to everyone. But look, lastly, let's just check in with Prince Andrew. We hear he's been kicked out of his suites at Buckingham Palace. And while he personally can't seem to catch a break, Esther, is this an important part of the brand rehabilitation for the broader royal family?
I don't think so. The royal family Buckingham Palace hasn't really confirmed anything with regards to these details other than the fact that he has been kicked out. I think with the issue with Prince Andrew, it's a very complicated one. I think a bigger threat to him and the rehabilitation of the royal family's image, for instance, would be Ghislaine Maxwell and, the recent media sort of interviews that she's been doing lately with regards to her innocence, and where she delves into Prince Andrew as well. And she's insinuating that he was kind of forced to settle with Virginia, the lady who accused him of having sex with her. And I do think that would probably be a bigger issue, especially because reports have come out that Prince Andrew is seeking to actually appeal that particular court case, and that there is sort of evidence to suggest that he actually was forced to settle, and he really wanted to defend his innocence to the British public, because clearly he's been jettisoned from all aspects of royal life because of it. I don't think he will ever return to royal life, but it is an interesting side of the story. But with regards to him being kicked out of his bedroom, the Buckingham Palace hasn't confirmed anything yet, and I think in the broader, in the wider scheme of things, they're probably keeping more of an eye on the revelations regarding the Jeffrey Epstein case than anything else.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Esther, look, thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you back on soon.
Thank you.